there's something about serving a cocktail in its proper glass that I think really elevates the whole experience. It's like you don't want to put, not that I haven't done this, but you don't want to put like a nice wine in a coffee mug, right?
I'm Dalia Colón, and this is The Zest. Citrus, seafood, Spanish flavor, and Southern charm. The Zest celebrates cuisine and community in the Sunshine State. Today, forget New Year's resolutions. We are discussing our favorite foodie indulgences, from modest splurges to big-time investments. New year, same us. We could resolve to eat more kale, do 100 burpees a day, or rein in our online shopping habit. But let's be real, we're probably not going to stick to any of that, so what's the point? Here at The Zest, we are all about adding joy to our life, especially in the form of food. So we're kicking off 2025 by sharing some of our favorite gastronomic splurges. I'm talking foods, restaurant meals, kitchen appliances, and other things that we think are worth going out of your way for. Maybe they cost a little more, require a little more time or effort, but they are well worth the investment. Hopefully this conversation inspires you to create your own list of foodie goals. For this discussion, I'm joined by my colleagues Andrew Lucas and Alexandria Ebron. Okay, Alex and Andrew, now is the time of year that's all about deprivation, but I'm not really into that. So I'm thinking we lean into some indulgences. You know, these are also stressful times, and we gotta take the joy wherever we can find it. So we are here talking about some of our favorite food-related indulgences, and hopefully you at home will be inspired to lean into yours as well. We gotta start with the obvious, which is just foods. What is on your list of foods that are worth the splurge?
Well, I'll jump in first, I guess. There's a few things in the kitchen. You know, I'm always kind of the budget guy, kids and everything, but there's a few things I just really won't compromise on. I've tried all of the alternatives, and pasta sauce is one where there's a couple of brands. Now, within that category, I tend to go sort of on the bougie side, but there's quite a variety in price. I've seen some straight from Brooklyn or whatever that are like $20 a jar. I don't know about that, but I am a fan of Rao's. I know it's kind of cliche these days, and I've heard that their management is changing, so that may change in the future. But Rao's sauce is quite a bit above and beyond most of the other pasta sauce brands that I've tried, and I feel like that's such a central feature when you're making a pasta dish that if I'm not going to make my own from scratch, which I do, thank you very much, I would rather invest the money in something that's going to actually be really flavorful and fresh tasting and interesting tasting. There's another brand, little less expensive, which we've actually started to go to now that I find at Publix, called Botticelli, which is, I don't know if they're like maybe just not as famous as Rao's, but excellent sauce. And the spicy vodka sauce in particular is a favorite of my family's. So pasta sauce is one of my indulgences I just won't cheap out on.
That's a good one. And I feel like this is an area where you're spending a little more to save more, because if you get the cheap jarred sauce, you end up doctoring it up. It costs you more time. You're spending more ingredients. I'm also a fan of Rao's, and I get it at Aldi. So I feel like I'm getting the best of both worlds because I'm saving money. All right, keeping in the savory category, I'll share one of mine, and it's a brand of smoked paprika, and I think it's pronounced La Dalia. It's spelled Dalia, like my name, which is what
Shameless.
first attracted me to it. Listen, maybe I should own part of this company, but I don't. So my family was visiting my stepdaughter who was playing basketball overseas last year, and we were in Barcelona at a market. And I'm not a big souvenir person, but if I ever see anything with my name on it, I always get it because it's so rare. And they had these fancy tins of smoked paprika, and it's got my name on it, and it's got like flowers on it. And all I thought was, I just want the tin. I just want to like empty out the paprika, and then I can use the tin for like jewelry or loose change. But it turns out the paprika is amazing. And then a friend of mine saw it at TJ Maxx. So apparently you can get it a lot of places. You can get it on Amazon. It's $17.99 for 1.3 ounces. But I never understood what the big deal was about paprika until I tried this because it's so flavorful. The smell is amazing. It smells like you're at a barbecue. And I used to not really use paprika at all, but now I put it on everything. One of my favorites is if I'm doing chickpeas, like air fried chickpeas or in the toaster oven, and I'll put them with like some olive oil and garlic powder and salt. And now I'm always adding paprika. Smells great, tastes great, and then it also gives it that beautiful color. So to me, it's worth it. I will be looking for more. And I have another food item that is also, I would consider a modest splurge, and this is unsweetened dried mango. I live in my car. I'm a soccer mom. I drive a minivan, and I always keep snacks in my car. So I like things that are shelf stable. I always have like little packs of almonds or something like that. A lot of stores sell the mango with added sugar, which I'm not a big fan of. First of all, why are you messing with Mother Nature like that? It's perfect the way it is. The one with sugar is like too sweet. But there are a few places where you can find unsweetened. I've found it at Target, Publix, and Trader Joe's. There might be a few more, but it's only one ingredient, so it's super good for you. It's a great travel snack to keep in the car, in your purse, in your backpack, on an airplane. You can cut it up and use it as a salad topper. I love mango in any form, but it's worth going out of your way and paying a couple more dollars for the unsweetened dried mango.
That's a good call. My kids love dried mango, so I love that suggestion. I think that's great. I've got another one. This was a holiday favorite. Kerrygold butter. So I don't use a ton of butter, in fairness. I'm more of an olive oil guy for most day-to-day cooking. So if we're going to get butter, let's get the good stuff. Pulled it out for the holidays, for Thanksgiving. Just had sort of an early Christmas dinner party situation a few days ago. And it's one of those things you don't really think about, but everybody really enjoyed having good butter. And I used it in most of the cooking for potatoes and all these things. And again, it's subtle, but quite an improvement over the country crock or whatever we usually get. And particularly, I made some of my mom's bread from scratch, and having that fresh bread warm from the oven with the Irish butter on top was like really pretty indulgent and amazing.
I've seen that. Does that come in like the green and gold packaging?
Yeah. And again, you can get them, I think, in like bigger multi-packs at some of the big box retail stores and things. So there's ways to cut the cost down from the individual packs. It also comes typically in sort of European style bricks as opposed to sticks. So bear that in mind. But yeah, delicious and really made people noticed. It was pretty cool.
What's the difference? Because I'm buying the cheap stuff. A lot of times I'm buying the vegan butter, the fake stuff. Yeah. So can you put into words what the difference is? Yeah,
I think it is just a higher fat content. So it's really rich. I got the salted. I'm sure if you baked with the unsalted, it would probably be an improvement as well. But just, I guess, the quality of the cream, and it has a really luxurious sort of feel to it. And yeah, I think the fat content is the big distinguishing factor. It's extra not good for you, which means it's super delicious.
You know what, though? That's how they do it in Europe. They eat all that stuff, and somehow it works for them. I like the idea of a little bit of luxury, like the butter on your toast or something like that.
Yeah.
Alex, what are some of your favorite food splurges?
Okay, so this is going to sound really lame, but fruit. Anytime I'm going to the grocery store, guarantee, like, there's fruit is coming home with me. So, like, berries. This fall and winter, I've really been in my apple era. So I've been buying apples nonstop. I enjoy a good Granny Smith, a good Honeycrisp, give me a Red Delicious, maybe even a Pink Lady. So I've really been enjoying those. Maybe some chips too. Yeah, fruit and chips.
What kind of chips?
Oh my gosh, Lay's. I love the kettle chips. Oh my gosh. Give me a kettle chip. At Winn-Dixie, there's sweet potato chips.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't remember the brand, but they're at Winn-Dixie and are usually like $4 a bag. And it's 2 flavors. I think it's usually like Carolina barbecue and like sea salt or something. But, you get you a bag of sweet potato chips, some fruit, and some kombucha, and you have a good selection of snacks.
You know what? I'm glad you brought up apples because my favorite apples are called jazz apples. And they're hard to find, but they're just sweet enough, a little bit tart, very firm and crispy, which I like because I don't like a mealy apple. But I think that's worth the little bit of extra effort. They're my favorite apple.
Yeah, I love slicing them up, and my dog Benita, that's kind of our thing where we eat fruit together. So
Aww.
I know. So anytime she sees me bring out fruit, she's like right up my hip, like, can I have some? So I'm slicing up the apples because I enjoy eating them sliced, and it's a good solid crunch. That's what I like.
For sure. Staying in the kitchen, what are some of the gadgets and appliances and other items that you think are worth the splurge?
So always an air fryer, also a good blender, a tea kettle. I drink tea every day. So now, actually for the last maybe 4 years, I've had a electric kettle. It doesn't whistle, but you turn it on, it boils the water, and when it's done, it clicks off itself. So it's not disturbing anybody. And it keeps the water hot for a while, because there's times where I'll turn it on maybe like 30 minutes before I leave to actually go in the office, and the water is still hot by the time I leave.
I never really believed in those electric kettles. I'm like, I already have a tea kettle and I already have a stove, but I like the idea of putting an electric kettle at your desk where you're working. That would be cool. That might be something to think about. You could have like a little tea station for yourself, have some afternoon tea. You also mentioned a good blender. Okay, this is a splurge, and I have a Vitamix. So these blenders retail for like over $400. I think some of them are up to like $600. I will say I did not pay for it. Probably 15 years ago, my parents got a Vitamix, and they loved it so much that they asked me and my brother Freddie if we each wanted one. And we both said no, and we both got one anyway. I came home one day and it was in a box on our doorstep. And I said I didn't want this. Why did they waste their money? Mother and father always know best. I use this thing multiple times a day. So this was shortly before I had my first child. I used it to make baby food. I use it in the summer to make smoothies, homemade peanut butter. My brother, he really did not want one, but my sister-in-law uses theirs to make cocktails, which I think is genius.
That's fun.
Nice.
And what I like about it, besides that it's super strong, is that it's a blender and a food processor in one. So if you're a minimalist and you don't want a lot of gadgets, it's doing the job of multiple gadgets. So it takes up less counter space. It was great when we lived in our townhome and the kitchen was like the size of a postage stamp. I was using that thing every day for everything. Baby food, pasta sauce, peanut butter, smoothies, soups, cocktails, you name it. So if you can find it in your budget, I would say that a Vitamix is worth the splurge.
Nice. I was going to add to sort of prep gadgets is a good set of knives.
Yes.
And actually, I'll amend that. I honestly don't think you need a full set of knives, quote unquote, as they will sell you.
Amen. Amen.
Now, mine are very special to me. When I was young, I think I was like probably 20, my mother started every year for Christmas, she would buy me a fancy J.A. Henkel's knife. And so over the course of like a decade, I had amassed, which are very precious now that she's passed away. So I think of her every time I cook. But something I'm going to try to do for my kids maybe as well, because I don't think you need 37 different knives, and I don't think you need all these specialty things. I'd say you certainly need a really good chef knife. You need a good paring knife. You need maybe a bread knife or a serrated knife, although I use my bread knife for all kinds of stuff, not just bread. Maybe a good set of kitchen shears, and that might be it, really. And then anything else on top of that you can certainly add. But I think those 3 or 4 knives you'll use pretty much every single day. And that's another category, too, where a good knife will make all the difference in not only your utility in the kitchen, but I think a lot of times your willingness to cook in the first place.
Yes.
Because it can just speed things up. It makes it more fun, if nothing else. Safer. Now I've really started to teach my kids about knife safety, like having a good set of sharp knives makes a huge difference. So, but I don't think you need to get an entire 12-piece set of Japanese meteorite knives or what. Like, I think you can just do your research. And frankly, mine are a little mishmashy, which again, in my particular circumstances, just makes them that much more precious to me. But just buy the best knife for each style of knife And don't worry about them being all matchy. And that way you can play around with price. You can try some different brands. Maybe if you like I like Henkel's, maybe you like something different for your kitchen shears. Well, there you go. That's all right. But I think worth waiting and saving and investing in a nice quality knife or knives is worth it.
I so agree. And remember a while back we had Bridget and Julia from America's Test Kitchen, the PBS show, and they said the same thing. You just need 2 or 3 good knives and you're good to go.
Oh, and mine are 20 some years old now at this point. So I mean, if you take good care of them, they can last you your whole lifetime. You can hand them off to your kids someday if you take good care of them.
Wow. One of my resolutions is to get my knives professionally sharpened at least a couple times this year. Because there's an Ace Hardware that I drive past every single day, and I see that sign that says we sharpen knives, and I just need to do it.
We go to the farmer's market, although my chef brother was here for Thanksgiving, and he definitely gave me a hard time about my knives not being sharp enough. So duly noted, Charlie. Let the record show.
The only other kitchen item I have on my list is just sustainable products. I think it's always worth it in the long term for our planet, for our grandchildren. So I'm trying to do compostable spoons every day for my kids' lunchboxes. In a perfect world, they would have their bamboo cutlery set that they take to and from school every day. That's not happening.
Yeah, good luck
when things go to school, it's like, have a nice life. I may never see you again. So at least rather than sending the plastic, I'm sending something compostable. I use beeswax. It doesn't work for everything, but for, if you have a cut onion or something like that, you can wrap it up. So I think trying to find those ways we can be a little more intentional is always worth the extra cost if you can swing it.
I love that.
So the next one is going to be restaurants. So Alex, this is where you're going to do all the talking.
Yeah, right.
So this is where we're really leaning on you because Andrew and I, ironically, don't eat out that much. So what are some of your favorite restaurants? No money. Kids take all our money. Alex, what are some of your favorite restaurant splurges?
Restaurant splurges. Let's see. Well, for my birthday, sorry if you can hear Robert said alcohol. I do enjoy a good little cocktail whenever I do go out. I had a modern cosmopolitan last night at Pont, and it had like a little lavender infusion type situation. Like at the end, it had the syrup, so I had to like stir it up. It was really good. Another splurge might be like, it's simple, but sometimes dessert, because typically after I eat dinner, I'm like, okay, now I need something sweet. So
yeah. And we're recording this on the day after your birthday. I know you had a full day of eating out yesterday. What'd you do for dessert?
We went to, so I don't know if everybody knows this because I learned it from someone else. If you go to Burns, you can just make a reservation for their dessert room. You don't have to go to the steakhouse. You can just make a reservation for their dessert room. So that's what we did yesterday, and we had their toffee crunch cheesecake.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yes, really good, and it had a really good crunch to it from the toffee and like the almonds and all that stuff. So it was really good, and then obviously it's cheesecake, so it's creamy as well. And it had chocolate, and it was really good. Yes.
Stop. Wow. You know what's great about the Burns Dessert Room? This is Burns Steakhouse in South Tampa. It's a Tampa institution. It's definitely a special occasion restaurant. But when you go to the dessert room, you can still get dressed up and have the whole Burns experience without necessarily paying for the steak and all of that. It's still a splurge though, even if you just get the dessert and coffee and drinks.
It's still a splurge. Burns is still a splurge, but like obviously for special occasions, because we went to Burns for my birthday last year, and again, it'll feel like a splurge, but a lot of the stuff you can just share. Because me and Robert shared the steak, we shared the sides. Another restaurant, it's not like expensive, but it's still a luxury, is Fleming's. They just opened up a new one on Boy Scout by the mall. in Tampa, and we would do Tomahawk Tuesdays, and I was the tomahawk steak, 2 sides and 2 desserts, and it was, I don't remember the exact price, but it was.
Just put Robert on the podcast already. wait, 100, Robert, get over here.
I want you.
Oh, you're in it now.
Yeah, you're in
it now.
Just go all the way. This is Alex's husband, Robert,
yes,
making his second appearance on the podcast. Hello. You didn't know you were going to be on this. We need your expertise. So the dinner that she just described with the steaks and the sides, what did you get and how much was it?
I think 2 sides, like a 30-ounce tomahawk. And it may have came with a dessert too, but they only do it on Tuesdays, and I think it's like $125. And like, just for that is a good price. I mean, obviously it's still pricier, but you know, from any steakhouse, if you're going to get a tomahawk, that could be $130 by itself.
That's great.
Yeah.
As long as we have you here and we're talking about restaurants or like foods, eating out, are there any other indulgences? Like, what are some things that you don't care paying full price for? You're like, nope, I gotta have it because it's worth it.
I think the steak is probably one of them. I think if we're going to go out and we're already doing it, then it's like, whatever. I'm not that worried about the receipt. I guess I have to pay for it anyways. So it kind of is what it is. It's mostly her birthday. Like at that point, it was like, I don't care. Get whatever you want.
Oh, good husband.
Enjoy yourself.
Where would you want to go for your birthday?
I'm simple. Like I don't really care that much. I just like to cross something off the list. Like we went to happy hour for Bernini's.
Oh yeah,
and all their entrees are half off during the day. So that's like, I don't mind eating something cheap, even though it was still like ossobuco, which could be pricey at times. But there on happy hour, it's $20. You know, you can get something really good, but then be frugal at the same time. That's more or less what I'm looking for.
That's a great tip to get the higher end food that you want, but on an off day or on an off time, so it doesn't cost as much. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're now a member of the podcast.
Yes.
Too late.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Robert.
Of course.
Well, that's great. This seems to be a recurring theme actually here is like you can be indulgent and also not necessarily pay full price for things if you're smart about it. Whether that's like, I know you can get Rayo's at Costco, or you can do your Tomahawk Tuesdays, or you can wait for Black Friday to get your Vitamix, or there's ways to still splurge, but not necessarily have to pay the very tippity top of the price tag either.
That's good. So it's good to keep a list. You know, people make a list of New Year's resolutions and all the things they're not going to do and not going to eat. But what about like putting a list in your phone app, your notes app of things you're after? You know, I want to, like Robert said, I want to eat at this restaurant, or I want to invest in this knife. Yeah.
We do have in our notes app a shared note of a list of restaurants that we want to go to, and Pont was on that list, so that's why we ended up going last night. So, you know, just make the list and cross them off, make a little note, that way it's like a reference.
A lot of us make a list of New Year's resolutions, which are things we're not going to do. But what about making a list in like the Notes app of your phone of places you want to try, or appliances or knives that you want to buy? I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, that way, you know, if you have to refer back to it, it can kind of jog your memory. So it's pretty extensive, our list. So we have a lot more places to knock off. Always. So.
Okay.
I've got one random category one, and that I just thought of. I've been sort of collecting barware for many years, and there's something about serving a cocktail in its proper glass that I think really elevates the whole experience. And I don't even entertain that often, but I like having some martini glasses, some champagne glasses, some low balls, so that, like, I had some friends over the other day. They wanted me to make them some old fashions. It was nice to pull out my set of low balls that I think I got as a gift, actually, but serve everybody in the proper glass. And it just sort of elevated the whole thing and made it from like, hey, dude, I'll just have whatever you're having, to sort of a little cocktail experience, you know, and made it feel special.
I love that. It's funny that you said that, because just this morning I bought some whiskey glasses. We're recording this like a week and a half before Christmas. And just this morning I bought some whiskey glasses to give as a gift to my husband, because over the weekend we had the soccer team over for a party and we had some adult beverages for the adults. And we served everything in plastic cups. And I just felt kind of cheesy. And my husband's gotten into whiskey and bourbon. And so I just got him a set of 4 as a starter, and then from there he can add on to it. But I do think you can elevate an experience by just serving it in the proper container, adding a little sprig of whatever's growing in your garden. Just those little things make it feel more luxurious. And these were not expensive. These were from a big box store. This is great. I love this. This is so much better than this is just so much better than saying I'm going to stop eating butter. No, I'm not going to stop eating butter. I'm going to eat the best butter. I'm not going to stop eating out. I'm just going to make it a great experience for the best value I can find. This is doable.
Yeah, and food should be more than just sustenance, right? It should be an experience.
Yeah, it should be fun.
Yeah, and elevate your time. We're celebrating time together with people often when we're eating. And so I think it's worth using your fancy appliances or going out to that special meal at a restaurant or serving a cocktail in the proper glass, like, cause it's about celebrating the people that you're with too.
For sure. And don't they say to eat well is to live well?
Oh, that's good. I like that.
Okay. Here's to living well.
Something like that.
Well, I hope you all eat well and live well going into 2025 here. So.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. This was fun. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers.
Clink, 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 clink.
I'm always up for a chat with my colleagues Andrew Lucas and Alexandria Ebron. We talk food together. We produce this podcast together. Good times. I'm Dalia Colón, and we want to know what your foodie resolution is for this year. Hit us up on Facebook or Instagram at The Zest Podcast. Zest is a production of WUSF. Copyright 2025. Part of the NPR network.